Battlefield logistics. Measuring distances. The unit of measurement for all distances and ranges in the ninth age fantasy battles is the inch. An inch corresponds to 2.54 centimeters. When using 28mm scale miniatures, 1 inch in the game would be roughly equal to 1.5 meters in real life. An average human-like creature in the game has an advance rate of 4 inches and a march rate of 8 inches, which means that in a single movement phase it would move only 6 meters, 12 if marching. Likewise, a ranged weapon like a longbow has an effective range of 30 inches in the game, which would equal roughly 45 meters, which is 5 times shorter than the average historic effective range of the weapon of around 250 meters. For example, players could use the historic range of the longbow to determine what kind of distance 1 inch represents in a game. In that case, 1 inch would be slightly more than 8 meters and much closer to representing the distances assumed when writing the rules for this game. We do not wish to tell players how to imagine their fights or how many individuals each miniature should represent, but we believe that an easy equation of 1 inch being roughly equal to 10 meters is a good representation of the size of the game. An average game will be played on a 72 by 48 inch table and thus represents a real-life area of 720 by 480 meters, or roughly 50 football pitches. In medieval times, the closest thing we have to our fantasy world, this would represent an average-sized battlefield where two forces with soldiers numbering from a few hundred to several thousand would meet. To determine the distance between 2 points on the battlefield, or 2 units, or any other elements, you always measure from the closest points, even if the line of measuring goes through any kind of intervening or obstructing element. The rules often refer to things being within a certain distance. Measure the distance between the closest points. If this distance is less than or equal to the given range, they are considered to be within range. This means that a model is always within range of itself, and that the entire model or unit does not need to be within range, only a fraction of it. When measuring distances to and from a unit, measure to and from its unit boundary. Players are allowed to measure any distance at any time. Line of sight. A model can draw a line of sight to its target, a point, a model, or a unit boundary, if you can extend a straight line from its front facing directly to its target, without the line doing one of the following. Leaving the model's front arc. Being interrupted by opaque terrain. Being interrupted by the edge of a base of a model that has an equal or bigger height than both the model and its target. See Model Classification, page 75. For more details, model rules such as tall or skirmisher can affect this. For the purpose of drawing line of sight to or from a point on the battlefield, that point is considered to be of standard height. When drawing line of sight from several models inside a unit, this is done independently for each model. Line of sight cannot be drawn to targets if the endpoint would be outside the unit's front arc, and models never block line of sight to or from other models within the same unit. A unit is considered to have line of sight to a target if one or more models in the unit have line of sight. A model is considered to have line of sight to a unit if it can draw line of sight to any model inside that unit or to any part of the unit's unit boundary. See Figure 7 for an illustration of how to draw line of sight from a model. Unit spacing. Under normal circumstances, all units must be separated from impassable terrain and from both friendly and enemy units by more than 1 inch. Remember that distances between units are measured to and from their unit boundaries. Certain types of movement allow a unit to come within 1 inch of other units or impassable terrain. The most common types of movement are: during an advance move or a march move, units may come up to 0.5 inches of these elements, but must be more than 1 inch away at the end of the move. See Figure 8. During a failed charge move or a charge move, units are allowed to come within 0.5 inches of these elements, including base contact. They may, however, only move into base contact with an enemy unit that was the target of the charge. Once units end up within 1 inch of other units or impassable terrain after a failed charge move or a charge move, they're allowed to remain within 1 inch. As soon as they move farther away, the usual restrictions regarding unit spacing apply again. Removing a unit from the battlefield, for example, during a reform, does not count as moving the unit farther away for this purpose, unless the unit is actually placed back farther away than 1 inch.